So now today we will discuss the current affairs for the week ending 9th of August, sorry July till 14th of July. Acha, I just want you to tell what all appeared in the news, so that we will just know whether you are studying or not. What all is in the news? हाँ जी, GST Council is in the news. Okay, GST Council economy question. The GST Council, the major reason why the GST Council is in news primarily because of its decision to tax the gaming industry not on the profit but entire participation in the economy. So if you take 1 lakh rupees in a suitcase, go to casino or something, irrespective of what you win or lose, you will be taxed on that 1 lakh rupees. Straight away 28% means 28,000. So see, there are two sections in the society, some are talking for it, some are talking against it. The people who are talking for it, they are saying that gambling as such is not good, so it is a kind of a sin tax. We talk about sin tax in our this thing, no? So the decision of the government to tax on the entire part of the game, not only on the profits, proceeds of the profit, it means that the government want to consider this as a sin good and tax it accordingly. Okay? Okay, what else? So the constitutional provisions of the GST Council, the composition of the GST Council, you should be knowing it. Okay? Okay, what next? Come again? The SCO, Iran's induction into SCO? वो तो last week है. Modi's visit to France. Okay, our fellow is not visiting Manipur but visiting France is what somebody was telling me down below. I said he doesn't have any role to go to Manipur, he has a role to go to France, so that's the reason why he is going to France. There is a reason. If see, law and order at the end of the day is a state subject. It is not, central government has got nothing to do with law and order unless and until it goes out of proportions, which the government says that it is still under control. So you don't expect Modi to go there, he is not supposed to also. Okay. So Manipur situation, we know the Meitei, there was a question today also, Meitei and the Kukis community, who is what and all those questions. Okay, what else? Chandrayaan 3, see, a proud moment for all of us that we have to wait 40 days more to wait, but still yes, the initial part of the entire game has gone well, so it's a proud moment. Luckily Modi did not come this time, so I think things will happen. Okay, next. So that there is a reason why sending him to France. बोला तो उधर ही रहे, हम यहाँ अपना काम करते हैं. ठीक है, चलो on the lighter side, ठीक है, don't quote me anywhere. हाँ, inflation, where in here or America? Both, here and America both. But what is the rate of inflation going on in America now? 3%. ठीक है, but 3% also for America is very high, believe me, because these are the advanced countries, right? वहाँ पे 3% is very high. Okay, what else? There was some other country also, no, where inflation का कुछ news में था, in one of the text and context articles. Greece का था, किसका था? Where there was a time when the inflation was touching 20,000%. Some country, I am forgetting the name. Huh? Brazil, Venezuela, I don't remember. One of the Latin American countries, Argentina, I don't know. Where there was a time when the inflation in that country touched 20,000%. हम तो गरीब तो मर जाएगा, भूखा मर जाएगा. ठीक है? For 6% only you will skin the RBI governor alive, right? So that's how things happen. But inflation primarily because of the food. So you should know the difference between core inflation, headline inflation, the IIP index, what are all there. I think there was a question today also, which is the sector in the IIP which has contributed to the weightage, whose weightage is the lowest. या परिश्रम में था या आप लोगों में था ना मोनिका? एग्जाम तुमने लिखा और सवाल मैं बोल रहा हूँ और तुमको पता नहीं लग रहा है. करंट अफेयर्स में नहीं था तो परिश्रम में था होगा, नहीं था, हमको भी याद नहीं है सर. चलो गुड, नेक्स्ट. हाँ, व्हाट एल्स इज इन न्यूज? दी अच्छा NIRF के ऊपर, बट दैट इज पुराना खबर है. NRF, okay, okay, NRF is also a news. What is the context?
Private sector should also contribute in R&D.
Okay, कहाँ से होगा, मुश्किल है. ठीक है, okay, next. Discussion point of view से articles क्या था न्यूज़ में, बोल रहे? रुक जा. Money had an allegation, sir, आप मेरे को क्लास में बात नहीं करने देते हो, इसलिए what I did last week, I went online and I asked all the questions online. I have to watch if somebody is like you watching. हाँ, So he had all the questions online. I said, why did you not come? बोला आप क्लास में क्वेश्चन मेरा ले ही नहीं रहे हो. So I said, okay. So today when the discussion starts, all the questions will start with money. Only if he is not able to answer, sir, this is targeting, sir. है ना? हाँ money बोल. What is news? हाँ अच्छा यूरोपियन पार्लियामेंट इज टू मच इंटरेस्टेड इन मणिपुर यार. उनको बोला अपना देखे यार पहले. देर आर टू मेनी इश्यूज इन यूयू राइट, यूरोपियन यूनियन. वो साला अपना देखो तुम पहले, बाद में हमारे पास आओ यार. हमारा मोदी को हमने वहां भेजा है, तुम साला फिर भी इधर ही देख रहे हो, है ना? हाँ अच्छा, व्हाई इज यू इंटरेस्टेड इन मणिपुर? प्राइमरली इज इट ओनली रिलीजियस? हाँ हाँ, it has a historical context. What is that? Okay. How are you interested? See, आजकल सॉफ्ट डिप्लोमेसी बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है ना. चाइना इज ट्राइंग टू नेगोशिएट ईरान एंड whom? चाइना इज नेगोशिएटिंग होम PSIR. हाँ बोल रहे, रुक जा, इकोनॉमिक्स. हाँ, चाइना इज नेगोशिएटेड नो रिसेंटली बिटवीन टू कंट्रीज, Iran and Saudi. Why is China interested in their thing? One more similar happened. UAE was doing something. आप लोग पढ़ नहीं रहे हो, मैं बता रहा हूँ. UPSC वाला जान ले लेगा. You should know everything under the sky in UPSC. Believe, they expect you to know. You should know or see. New marriage, no, mother-in-law has her own expectation, daughter-in-law has her own expectation. Who will meet whose expectations will decide the fate of whose and who. Yes or no? UPSC thinks, and believe me, they are right in their thought process, because you are with the books. What they feel is, we are in service, we are serving now, still we are reading news, and if you are preparing for this examination, you should be knowing more than us, because you are reading for a competitive examination. So that is how the mind thought. So they expect you to know everything, and not superficially. The basic difference between any state examination and UPSC is, UPSC does not want you to know superficially anything. If you know it, you know it completely. If you do not know it, you do not know it. That's all. So understand that particular, but very 2-3 important news nobody is talking last 1 week. Forest Act. Okay. Anything else? Geopolitics mein. Okay, the UN voting on Quran and all, desecration and all happened. But other than that, floods in North India, okay, we have got used to it now. Very soon we will buy boats also. Banks will give loan to buy a boat also. There is a geographical reason why these floods are happening. So you should know the sequence of entire, the warming up of the Arabian Sea. I hope I am connecting some dots. Okay, so that all those dimensions should be known to you. Geography optional. Didn't ever lera? Nobody is geography optional. How come? When I was a student, geography was one of the most opted optionals in our country. Now, some reasons it has gone back. It will come back. Just 2 more years it will come back, because UPSC वाला prelims में 40-40 नंबर के मार्क पूछ रहा है. Geography optional से 40 questions came, 39 questions to be more precise, in the 2023 UPSC. He will revive that subject. So some of you will definitely end up taking that option. ठीक. हाँ, what else? G20, okay. हाँ, what is that? अरे NATO ने धोखा दिया यूक्रेन को. There is something known as membership action plan. They said we have waived this action plan for you. See, if you waive something, the recipient country should be benefited. February 2022 से लड़ाई चल रहा है. Ukraine जैसा small country has been able to withstand the might of Russia for more than 1.5 years now. अगर तुमने 1.5 ईयर में उसको मेंबरशिप नहीं दिया यूक्रेन को, सब कुछ खत्म होने के बाद मेंबरशिप देने का कोई फायदा है? अच्छा, कैन एनीबडी टेल मी व्हाई द मेंबरशिप फॉर यूक्रेन इज गेटिंग डिलेड? आई वांट टू सी हाउ यू थिंक व्हाई द मेंबरशिप ऑफ द यूक्रेन इज गेटिंग डिलेड. फिनलैंड गॉट 31st मेंबर बना नेटो का, and Sweden is also in the pipeline. It is short span of time, Sweden will also get. What crime Ukraine did कि इसको बेचारे Zelensky, you know, he literally shouted at Biden कि if this is how you are treating a country which is on a desperate need to join NATO, and then what is the point of joining NATO? It is better I join him. I may lose independence, but I'll at least survive. Logical, no? It sounds logical. Why is NATO delaying the admission of Ukraine into the NATO? What is the idea? ऐसा ही सवाल पूछेगा इंटरव्यू में, why is NATO delaying the admission of Ukraine? Then knees will start cracking in the examination hall. To prolong the war. Indirectly he gave the answer. The direct answer is US wants to make money out of the situation. Simple. For this to understand, make a box and write till now how much amount of aid US has given to Ukraine, and what is the form of aid? Is it actually an aid or a loan? Is it actually an aid or a loan? You all will be surprised. It is on the name of aid, but it is actually loan. And poor Ukraine has to pay back the loan to America. And in what form Ukraine will pay? In the form of supplies. In the form of supplies, food supply. Ukraine will end up paying. When you are in the service, you may end up in Ukraine. You will see gallons, what you call wagons and wagons of food grains and all, because Ukraine is known to be the bowl of for something in the world, wheat. So it will continue to send for decades to come, for centuries to come to America free of cost. ये होगा, that dependency will get created. Any other article for your assistance? Acha, this global south was in news long for some time, 2-3 days it was hanging in the news. What is this term global south? It denotes the countries which are south of the hemisphere, below equator. India is also part of global south, but I think we are in the northern hemisphere. I think, unless and until you have pushed us down. And China also an emerging market. It is also in the northern hemisphere, but considered to be part of the global south. So the global south as a terminology should not be construed from the point of view of geography alone. It should be considered from two more dimensions. One is geopolitics, the second is economy. So these two dimensions also add up to classify a country into global south. But it is so ironical that two countries which are in the northern hemisphere are the leading players of the global south. So it negates the principle that global south has any geographical indication. See, generally पहले जब बात हुई थी, when people started classifying countries, especially an organization called World Bank. So World Bank, when it started classifying countries based on per capita income, it started classifying countries as least developed countries, developing countries and developed countries, right? So these countries had objection to it. सर सुनने में अच्छा नहीं लगता है कि हम least developed country है, you call for international forums, we come there, we are given a small table to sit on to a side, and you sit on the cushion sofa and other things, so we feel bad. So that's when the World Bank and other countries decided, especially the United Nations mandate and US decided not to use this classification. So when the world was in Cold War phase, so it was called two-dimensional world, like Cold War, one South Pole, North Pole, and the third other countries was called as the third world countries. Okay, so this dimension also happened. Now because third world countries also when the Soviet collapse happened in 1991, because the second pole got vanished, so the usage of the terminology third world also got vanished over a period of time. So now they came with a new terminology, the global north or the global south. So global north is basically countries which have a very strong economic what you call base with very high human developmental indexes. So these are the countries that are termed to be the global north, especially the North American countries, especially the Western European countries, countries like Japan or so in Asia. Very few countries from Asia are in the list of global north. Most of the countries are in the global south. So understand why this terminology is changing, we will talk about it. Jaishankar talks about this global south much. Okay? Now because India is wanting to become the voice of the global south, global south. Okay? Take. Now there was one India France. Acha, places of worship act was also in news. Why it was in news? Recently because Supreme Court has given time till 31st of October to the central government to decide some dimensions related to the places of worship act. Anybody knows the history of this places of worship act? Why this act in the first place? Why do we need this act? What was this? There are two acts, no? Archaeological and Monuments Act and the Places of Worship Act. Why this Places of Worship Act came into, Sandhya, Places of Worship Act? Idea ledu. The first question, as I told, will go to Manikanteshwar. Mani bol. Babri Masjid demolition happened in 1991. Okay. Good. He knows the history also. 1991, when the Babri Masjid demolition happened, the country felt that, especially the leadership felt that, especially our leader P.V. Narasimha Rao felt that, if I do not bring in a legislation immediately, it may so happen this spree of demolishing the mosque and bringing temples or any other vice versa, it will have a chain effect. So immediately the legislation was passed called Places of Worship Act, and it was told that at the time of independence, 15th of August 1947, if a structure was called a temple, it will remain a temple. If a structure was called a mosque, it will remain a mosque. People will not go beyond 1947, 15th August to find out whether it was originally a mosque or a temple. Because in our country there has been an history because our country has been a victim of so many invasions from the west, right? So lot of temples and other monuments which are of Hindu origin were converted over a period of time into other religious belief system structures, right? So there was a fear that if this Babri Masjid issue is not stopped through a legislation, probably there will be a spree of more demolitions and lot of chaos will happen in the country. So the Places of Worship Act was brought by the government, in which it was decided no more demolitions. If it is a mosque, it will remain a mosque at the time of 15th of August 1947. But there were some exceptions given to it. We will try to find out which were those exceptions when we see the article. So this is a news because there are some petitions pending in the court, and the court has given central government time to respond to some things. We will see what is that thing. Okay? And human trafficking. Why human trafficking regularly comes up in news? Allowed it legally. Okay. Some country in the West has allowed it legally is what he says. Any other reason why human trafficking keeps coming up? Because there are certain organizations in the world that have been set up to ensure the control of this particular setup. Understand, in the human trafficking, two elements of trafficking are distinctly visible. That one is the women trafficking, the second is child trafficking. And ironically, the women trafficking happens more on an international scale and the child trafficking happens more on a national scale. So there are different reasons why that happen. Because of our geographical location closer to the Southeast Asia, where the professions like prostitution and all are legal. So the northeastern states and the state like West Bengal happens to be the highest victim of what we call women trafficking. So the women are trafficked through the northeastern India, especially Manipur, your More ICP, integrated check post. This is the route through Thailand. People are taken through Myanmar and Thailand. The women are trafficked to these countries like Thailand, Laos, Cambodia and all, where prostitution is a legal profession there. So that is the reason why trafficking is happening. We will also talk about certain conventions of the United Nations, which India is also a party to. Which is that convention? Anybody can name that convention? I have taught you this in the class. United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime, the Palermo Convention. It has 3 protocols to it. 3 protocols. It came in 2021 prelims also, UPSC. The 3 protocols were given in the paper. So we will discuss about them when we enter the topic. Okay. Chalo. And the first article of today's discussion is related to the performance grading index for the districts. This is primarily related to education. Is primarily related to education, where they are trying to see how various districts in the country are performing related to education. Okay. It says that the Department of School Education and Literacy, basically under the Ministry of Education, released the performance grading index for the districts. Combined report, very important, 2 years combined, 2020-21 and 2021-22. The 2020 and 2021 could not be released because of the pandemic situation. So now these both year reports have been released unitedly. Now it says that very important, some important aspects. It assesses the performance of the school education system at the district level. Underline the word district level. It is not national level. So do not fast read it. District level by creating index for comprehensive analysis. It says, acha, education is a state subject. Education is in which list? No, education, when the constitution was formed, it was in the state list. But the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act shifted education from the state list to the concurrent list. It means the parliament and also the state legislature can make laws on topics or subjects related to education. Very important. Okay? Understand this. What it says, the PGID is expected to help the state education departments to identify gaps at the district level and improve their performance in a decentralized manner. So the central government is only releasing this index basically to help the state governments to plan their education at the district level properly. See, very important from the perspective of administration. Now we will understand what it says. The PGID grades the district into 10 grades, very important. The districts are graded on 10 grades. We will talk about each one of them. Namely, the highest achievable grade is Daksh. So above 90%, if somebody is more than 90%, then that particular district gets a tag of Daksh district. But ironically, no district in our country is in this particular block. The reason is simple and straight logic, because the literacy rate in India has not yet crossed. What is the literacy rate in India today? 70. The literacy rate in India continues to be at around 74. You should be knowing the women, the men differentiation, the rural urban differentiation, सारी चीजें पता होनी चाहिए. Keep writing next to your sheet. The lowest grade in PGID is called Akanshi 3, Akanshi 1, 2, 3. The 3 is the lowest grade in the PGID, which is for scores up to 10% of the total points, right? The PGID structure comprises total weightage of 600 points and around 83 indicators. We will see what all are there, which are grouped under 6 categories. So the categories are 6, the points are 600 and the indicators are 83 indicators, very important. 600 points, 83 indicators categorized into 6 broad categories. We will see all of them. Assessment grade, the PGID grades the districts into 10 grades. The highest achievable grade is Daksh. It is followed by Utkarsh, which is 81% to 90%. There is something known as other thing also, Utkarsh 2.0, recently in news. Utkarsh 2.0. Utkarsh 2.0, please make a box. Utkarsh 2.0, very important from prelims perspective. Utkarsh 2.0 related to Reserve Bank of India, RBI. Utkarsh 2.0 not related to this. Okay? Now 71 to 80% is called Ati Uttam. Uttam is 61 to 70%. Pracheshta 51 to 60% and Pracheshta 2 41 to 50%. And the lowest, as I told you, Akankshi 3, and none of the districts figured in the highest Daksh grades in both these years. It means none of the districts could achieve more than 90% of education. Okay? Now, these are the 6 categories which we spoke about, broad classification. One is the outcome, second is the classroom effective transaction, then you have the infrastructure, then you have the school safety and child protection, digital learning, and lastly the governance. These are the 6 categories. That is how you see 600 points and total 83 indicators. In this you need to understand is the maximum indicators are in the learning enrichment activities, very important. The maximum indicators are in the learning enrichment activities, followed by the infrastructure and the learning outcomes. These are the maximum indicators. So 15 basically your learning enrichment activities. You need not know the entire thing, but majorly you should know 6 categories, 600 points, 83 indicators. This is what you should know. Okay? Now, none of the districts were able to earn the Daksh and Utkarsh in the latest report. 121 districts were graded as Ati Uttam for 2020 and 21, though this number fell by more than half in 21-22 with just 51 districts making the grade. Now tell me, in 2020 and 2021, most of the districts, 121 districts were graded as Ati Uttam. Ati Uttam in the grade is 71 to 80. Ati Uttam is 71 to 80. Now, why that in 2021-22 the grading that half 51 only came in this grade Ati Uttam? Why? Anybody? Reason? Can you make a judgment here? Huh? But 2021-22 तो improvement होना चाहिए ना. 2020 and 21 was COVID, because here we also had certain parameters which were related to digital learning. This is where 2020 and 21 they scored well, and by 2021-22 they did not score well. That is the reason why the grading went a little down, right? Best performers, very important. These 3 districts, make a note: Sikar, Junjunu and Jaipur of Rajasthan were the best performers. The 3 districts from Rajasthan performed the best. According to the report, these 3 districts were figured in the Utkarsh grade in 2019-20, in contrast to a year before when no district featured in that category. And Rajasthan has the highest, 24 districts in this grade, followed by Punjab 14, Gujarat 13 and Kerala 13. So Rajasthan is performing in when it comes to the PGID index with 24 districts in Rajasthan. Total how many districts in Rajasthan? सर यहाँ खुद का नहीं पता है, दूसरे का क्या पूछ रहे हो? चलो ठीक है, नेक्स्ट. Now, what are the other initiatives by the government related to education? We also have the National Education Policy 2020. I request all the freshers to read the NEP 2020 because the categorization has changed. 5+, 3+, 3+2, new categorization has come. Okay, so that should be known to you very clearly. And there is one more Samagra Shiksha campaign also that is being run by the country. It is an integrated scheme for school education extending from preschool to class 12. Ye underline this. This Samagra Shiksha starts from preschool and extends till class 12. And the midday meal scheme, we know, it provides that every child within the age group of 6 to 14, please underline the age, 6 to 14 years, studying in classes 1 to class 8, who enrolls and attends the school shall be provided hot cooked nutritional meals free of charge every day except when the school has declared a holiday. So, midday meal 2-3 dimensions, the age categorization, the 6 to 14 years age categorization, the class categorization, class 1 to class 8. So, these two categorizations should be known to you. And Ekalavya model of school and Rajiv Gandhi National Fellowship Scheme, these aim to encourage the students belonging to the scheduled tribes community to pursue higher education. Ekalavya school के बारे में in one of the current affairs classes I spoke in detail. The Ekalavya school, the Kendriya Vidyalaya school, the army public school, the military school, the Rashtriya military schools, all these schools differences you should be knowing. Please make a list. Make a list of the schools, specialized schools, no? The Ekalavya school, the Kendriya Vidyalayas, the army public school, the military schools, the RIMCs, Rashtriya Indian Military College, RIMC, Navodaya Vidyalayas. RIMC exam is known to be the toughest exam of your country, where from a state only 2 students will get selected every year, and till now 90+% of your army chiefs have come from RIMCs only. So, RIMC is a very big stamp in the army. If an RIMC student passes the written examination and goes for SSB, unless and until he displays some negative traits, it is understood that he will get selected. It is understood that he will get selected, because ever since he is a child in the 6th standard, he is groomed to be a leader in the forces. So, that is how those students from those schools will get automatically that priority in admission. Okay? The way IITians is a stamp, no? The way IITians is a stamp or IIM is a stamp, in the forces RIMC is a big stamp. Okay? People will automatically pull you up. Unless and until you slap your CO, you will definitely become a CO. Okay? Answer. What is the answer? कौन बताएगा हाथ ऊपर? 2 pairs. He says 2 pairs are correct. It is a combined report for 2021 and 2021-22. Is it right? Okay, it is a right statement. It tries to help the state education departments to find gaps in district level learning. It is a true statement. Education is a state subject. It is a false statement. Seeker from Rajasthan appeared in the list for the first time. Ab bolo. Is it a true statement or false statement? Seeker from Rajasthan appeared in this list for the first time. Read in this list as, ab bolo answer. What is the answer? I just mentioned. I changed the question paper. What is the answer? Only one is incorrect. Don't miss them. ठीक है, इसको मिस नहीं करना. पवन, हाँ बोल बेटा. See, understand, anything which is state list, it is bound to have a deviation. It is bound to have deviation. See, not all the states have embraced NEP. You know this. It means states are still following their own. Yes or no? So, understand, whenever a topic is in the state list and when parliament and the state both are trying to devise, generally it takes time for all the states to come on board. So, the states where the education system is running fine in the existing scheme of things, they will be showcasing maximum dissent to change. So, this is where you need to understand why the dissent is coming. See, if a scheme is designed by the center keeping UP, Bihar and those states in mind, that will not fit in for Kerala. It is clearly visible. So, understand that these states, especially states like AP and Telangana also, it will not fit in. So you will definitely see resistance from these states, but generally it is viewed as north and south divide. But even if it is viewed as north and south divide, it is correct, because still in the north some things have not happened. That is the reason why for the delimitation commission also the maximum opposition came from the south only. The opposition did not come from the north, because they know they will benefit, because they did not control the population. The seats are primarily decided based on the number of population. This North Indian states did not control the population, the South Indian states effectively controlled the population, but the number of representation in the parliament for the North Indian states is more, because purely it is based on population. So we are still hesitating. That is the reason why when 1976 Indira Gandhi was there, this issue was raised up by Tamil Nadu like anything. Tamil Nadu said, हम साला इंडिया से बाहर हो जाएंगे अगर तुम ऐसा करोगे. So a lady like Indira Gandhi was forced to delay the delimitation till 2001, and 2001 again when the time came, the same position remained, because the North Indian states did not do anything. So understand, whenever there is a policy that is brought by the central government, if in the current scenario, if certain states are performing well, they will not accept it so easily. Believe me, the Swachh Bharat was also not accepted initially, but when people started seeing the change, that is when everybody started accepting Swachh Bharat also as a dimension. Okay? See, more related to money. This is just a indicator. It is only helping the state education departments to devise. See, if the central government tells, okay, in your state, Nizamabad district, the female tribal women are not getting educated properly. So what does it mean? Now all the funds would be targeted towards bringing them to the schools. So it is basically a report that is helping the state for an affirmative action in a particular direction. So understand this dimension. That is the reason why it is just a indication. Okay, aisa position hai, this is what you have to do. Okay, understand this. So we need not go strictly what he is trying to tell. The same falls true for NEP also. The same falls true for NEP also. SNT. This has caught news very badly. A bacteria that once gets into your body eats your brain, not knowing it is already empty. Probably the bacteria also does not know that it is not going to get anything, but still it is trying to do something there. Take care. What it says is, a 15-year-old boy in Kerala's Alappuzha district has died due to a rare infection caused by Naegleria floweri or brain-eating amoeba. It is a single cell organism found in warm fresh water. Please underline the word warm and fresh water environments such as lakes, hot springs, and in even poorly maintained swimming pools where the chlorine is not used to kill certain bacteria. Okay? Now activities like diving or jumping into warm fresh water bodies can force water up the nose, providing an entry point for the amoeba. It means it enters your body through the nasal cavity. Basically it enters your body through the nasal cavity. According to experts, this floweri has existed for a long time. It means it is not a new bacteria in nature, but cases of infection are extremely rare. Why warm water temperatures, particularly during the summer months, create favorable conditions for the amoeba's growth, and such conditions are not rare in India. It survives on bacteria found in the sediment in lakes and rivers. However, it does not survive in saline conditions. Please make a note. The bacteria does not survive in the saline conditions and is hence not found in the sea water. So you only find this bacteria in the fresh water. Okay? Only one species of this Naegleria infects the people. It means there are many other species. Out of that, only one infects the people, and it does not spread from person to person. It means it is not contagious. It is not contagious, nor does it manifest symptoms when contracted in the forms. It means it will not show up in the form of any symptom. It is said that the person will suddenly collapse and go into coma and maybe eventually death also. That is the what you call severity of this particular thing. The amoeba enters the body through the nose and travels to the brain, leading to a severe and usually fatal brain infection. Please make a note, known as primary amoebic meningoencephalitis, PAM. Primary amoebic meningoencephalitis. This is the condition of the patient who has suffered this particular attack of amoeba. See, this is when actually it is known. It takes more than a week, 10 days time, when the person suddenly starts showing the symptoms of seizures and hallucination. And as the infection progresses, the patient can slip into coma and ultimately death can also happen. It means it is a fatal amoeba, fatal bacteria. Okay. Now, the amoeba's ability to rapidly destroy the brain tissue makes it a highly lethal infection. Prompt medical intervention is crucial, but even with treatment, the survival rate is very low. Understand this, because intervention with the brain tissue is still not that easy for human scientific invention. Okay? So, that is the reason why the chances are very high that somebody may die. Please make a note, there is a new report called, the title of the report reads, From Evidence to Action, 20 Years of IOM, International Organization for Migration, Child Traffic Data to Inform Policy and Programming. From Evidence to Action, from IOM, International Organization for Migration. They have classified the human trafficking into how many types? From the purpose, sex trafficking, your labor trafficking, organ trade trafficking, and forced marriage trafficking. Forced marriage trafficking. Internal trafficking happens in India also, last dimension. Forced marriage trafficking. Acha, why is this labor trafficking happening and where it is happening? Anybody? What is the place and area where this is happening? Labor migration trafficking. Where to where? I want to know. Internal bolo pehle. From Bihar to every part of the world, India I mean, from Bihar, okay. It is primarily, it's a pull factor or a push factor, basically a push factor, because there is no possibility of any economic activities or revenues there, okay. What else? Health, no economic activities, push factors. Any pull factors, obviously better employment opportunities. So, generally people from Bihar, they either travel to the north or they travel to the south. Generally the travel to the east is also there. West Bengal takes the maximum chunk of the migration from Bihar, Odisha, Jharkhand and all, but West Bengal takes the maximum brunt. Okay. So, other than that, the people also go to Delhi, Chandigarh, Gurgaon, Noida and also to down south states like Telangana and Karnataka for employment. That is the reason why if you see the hotel staff, you go to any of the hotel and talk to the staff, 99% they are Odia people. 99% they are Odia people. You go and talk to any real estate contractor, you ask him where the labor is from, he will say 99% Biharis. So, it means people got segmented into various sectors for their job role. Okay? So, this is how the internal migration is happening, labor trafficking. Any other migration internally that is happening? Anybody? Internal migration? Oh, okay, that is economic activities related. I am talking any other migration. Internal migration. We know about the Kashmir Pandits issue. Religious persecution is also a religious persecution. Please make a note. Religious persecution is also a reason for religious persecution. Religious persecution is also a reason for, now they are running these campaigns, no, Ghar Wapsi. The Ghar Wapsi campaign is nothing but your religious persecution as a result. Okay. Okay. Any other internal campaign, internal migration? We have the brew issue. We have the brews issue. Brew issue. Remember, between Mizoram and, come on, senior students, talk. Brew ante brew coffee ka. Brew ante Brew coffee kaadu. The brew peoples are also called as, senior student here. All senior students are looking down. Chalo, koi nahi. Brew issue, please make a box. Brew issue is in news. Recently the Ministry of Home Affairs gave lot of money for the deportation or the reinstatement of these brews. Mizoram and Tripura. Please make a note. 1997 the issue goes back to. Okay. The brew, internal migration. Okay. Any other internal migration issues? Avada? Okay. The northeast migration. I'm asking any other dimension other than economic reasons, other than familial reasons as marriage. Any other reasons for internal migration that is happening in our country? Ecological disasters. Can you give a reference? Okay. Okay. So he and she are giving reasons of ecological disasters for a reason of migration. Okay. What else? Ecological disasters. What else? One important reason for migration now is also growing instances of terrorism. The Manipur in the last 1 month has seen the highest migration in the shortest period of time. Highest migration in the shortest period of time. Now Myanmar se bhi log aa rahe hain. It was in news recently. We'll talk about some other dimensions related to it. Any other internal migration? One thing is there, you people are missing it out. Internal migrations. Acha, is India signatory to anything related to migration other than the convention that I spoke about, United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crimes? My question is, anything related to refugees in particular, is India a signatory? No, India is not a signatory related to any refugees because India's idea of refugee is something else. So we do not conform, CONFORM, conform to the idea of refugee or migration as defined by certain international organizations. So India is not a signatory. Though India is accepting lot of migrants, but still we have not signed any international treaty related to it other than the convention that I spoke to you. It is also called Palermo Convention, PALERMO, Palermo Convention. Acha, there is one convention called Vienna Convention, United Nations Convention Against Trafficking in Psychotic and Narcotic and Psychotropic Substances Act, called Vienna Convention. India is a signatory to it also, but in that, only in that signatory, if human trafficking is also happening for trafficking of narcotic and psychotropic substances, then we are part of that also. Vienna Convention, both Palermo and Vienna Convention. These two conventions are very famous international conventions, okay, related to these dimensions. Any other internal migration? Still one is missing. Think. The internal migration is also, actually speaking, it is not internal migration, it is international migration only. The Nepalese coming to India for working. The Nepalese coming to India for working, primarily in the defense and the central administrative services also. I hope you are aware the Nepalese people are also eligible to write the same examination that you are writing. So you have them also in the cadre. Okay. So they are given. That's the reason why we call it Roti Beti Ka Rishta. Roti is the economic opportunity, Beti is the marriage rishta. Okay. So Roti and Beti Ka Rishta with Nepal. Okay. So though it is not a classic example of internal migration. Okay. Acha, where is forced migration happening? Forced migration, forced marriage trafficking. Where is it happening? Forced marriage trafficking, especially I am talking from India to Middle East. India to Middle East. This is where forced marriage is happening. US is also a classic example. अरे जोक को समझा करो, ठीक है? How many of you are willing to travel to US under forced marriage pact? Nobody? Good. Don't go also. Useless. Chalo. What is human trafficking? Please make a note. Article 3 of the protocol to prevent, suppress and punish trafficking in persons of the United Nations. Just remain right. Article 3 of Palermo Convention. Don't write anything else. Of Palermo Convention. It talks about human trafficking. Nothing, I'll give you a crux of it. It basically tries to tell that if you are taking a person, whether a man, a woman or a child, for the purpose of gaining any economic benefit, if there is an element of force attached to it, and if you are using the route of land, air or sea, you have committed the crime of human trafficking. Simple. One, whatever route it may be, either air, by route or land. Two, where there is an economic element involved in the entire activity. And three, coercion involved. If there is coercion involved, then it amounts to nothing but human trafficking, right? If the person involved is not gaining anything, but the person executing or the family members of the person are gaining any economic benefit, it entails human trafficking. It strikes at the core of the basic human rights of a person. So that is how it is defined in the Palermo's Article 3 Convention, important from your prelims perspective. So do not miss this out. Okay. Child trafficking victims come from all backgrounds and genders according to the report. Some important facts it is giving. 57% of the child victims were females and 42% were male according to the data. 57.4 and 42.6, perfect 100%. So the highest percentage is from the female category. Children aged from, very important, 13 to 17 form the largest group of child victims. So 46% of the children who are trafficked, they are from the age bracket of 13 to 17. This is the age bracket where a girl child is expected to reach the age of puberty. That is the reason why the children from this age bracket are largely trafficked. The report noted that victims trafficked for sexual exploitation were commonly trafficked internationally. It means if the purpose of trafficking is sexual exploitation, it is primarily international trafficking. Okay? While those trafficked for forced labor were more likely to be trafficked domestically. It means more women are going out, more men are locally trafficked. Simple logic. Take it. Then family and friends play an important role in the recruitment of the children. This is the most happening part of the report, which says that the family and the friends are the biggest reasons for this particular trafficking to exist. Very disheartening. So 57.4 female, out of that females are largely going to outside, 42.6% are males, they are largely domestically trafficked. Okay? This is the crux of the, and in India, report says that in India 6,622 trafficking victims were reported to have been identified. In addition, the 694 were identified as potential victims. Maybe in near future they may also end up being victims of human trafficking. In 2021, the police charge sheets in 84% of the so and so cases registered under this across the country. It means the charge sheet was filed in 84.7%, where the charge sheeting basically reinforces that the element of trafficking was very much visible. The element of trafficking was visible. The trafficking was visible. Charge sheeting. Okay? It is a process. These are 5 states. If you can see, as I told you, West Bengal continues to be the biggest victim. West Bengal, the red indicates female, the blue indicates male. When it comes to male, maximum is in Rajasthan. Why? Because of the border. Because of the border with Pakistan. When it comes to male, it is Rajasthan the highest. Overall, it is West Bengal the highest, and female also West Bengal is the highest. As I told you, the children, especially the girl child who are trafficked from West Bengal, they finally land up in the markets of Thailand and Laos. These are the 2 places where most of the females from West Bengal and also other southeastern states land up in the sex market of Thailand and Laos. Okay, and top 5 purposes of human trafficking in the overall this thing, the top 5 purposes, the forced labor is the maximum. This is worldwide perspective, not India perspective. The forced labor, followed by sexual exploitation for prostitution, other forms of sexual exploitation. ये दोनों मिलाओगे तब भी it will not cross this figure. So forced labor happens to be one of the. This is primarily because the Middle Eastern countries people are exploited like anything for forced labor. ठीक है? The people may proudly tell my son is in Dubai or the daughter is in Dubai, but the ground reality would be very very bad. People say I am going to Canada for work, वहाँ जाके क्या कर रहे हो is very important. ठीक है? If you are becoming a truck driver there and filling petrol in a petrol pump, there is no great job you are doing, you can do that here also, right? Understand that. Constitutional and legislative, very very important, again both from mains and prelims perspective. Please note this article, article 23 subsection 1, very important element related to trafficking in humans. And then we also have the Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1956, ITPA we call it, Immoral Traffic and Prevention Act. It is a premier legislation for prevention of trafficking. So if somebody asks you in interview, what is the act that prevents trafficking in India? The answer straightforward is ITPA, Immoral Trafficking of Prevention Act, Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 19. Anybody? Why 1956? Jawaharlal Nehru na? हाँ बोलो. Why 1956? Why 1956? बनाओ बॉक्स. नेक्स्ट क्लास में याद दिलाना, मैं बात करूँ. मेक ए बॉक्स. Try to find out in the Google. If for some reasons you cannot find out, then I will discuss in the next class. ठीक है? Why the Trafficking Act was brought in the year 1956? This should be your search. Okay? No. Something related to Pakistan constitution and all those things. The J&K issue also, all those things were coming up. So that's the reason why we were, because when the constitution of J&K was getting finalized and all, lot of trafficking of the Pandits was happening. To control that situation, this was being done. Okay? And also the criminal law 2013, this section 370A, the amended section 370A of the IPC, which provides for comprehensive measures to counter the menace of human trafficking. Section 370A of the IPC. The state governments have also enacted specific legislation, especially the state of the Punjab Prevention of Human Smuggling Act 2012. Human smuggling is the word he is using. What is the difference between smuggling and trafficking? What is the difference between smuggling and trafficking? What is the difference between smuggling and trafficking? Chalk piece box తీసుకొస్తా रहेंगे class की. Okay, what is trafficking? She is right. See, trafficking is illegal ab initio. You cannot say, sir, permit me to traffic 10 women per month. You cannot say, sir, permit me to traffic 10 grams of cocaine every week. So anything which is ab initio illegal, it will come under the bracket of trafficking. That's the reason why we use the word drug trafficking, we use the word human trafficking, we use the word, what you call migrant trafficking, we use the word wildlife trafficking, we use the word organ trafficking. All these words we use with trafficking. But the moment it is gold, we use the word gold smuggling, because the gold is also available in the market openly. It is only and only if you want to hide the proceeds of your gold, that is when you do, and what you end up doing, smuggling. So if you carry out an economic activity in a substance which is otherwise available in the market, but because you want to buy it in the grey, because you want to escape the eyes of the law, then you ended up doing smuggling. So that is the reason why we also say currency smuggling. Currency is also available in the market, but if you are doing it, that's the reason why we call it FICN trafficking also we use. The reason why we use the FICN is fake Indian currency note. FICN is fake Indian currency note. Fake Indian currency note dealing is illegal ab initio. That is the reason why it is called trafficking. So anything which is ab initio illegal, it comes under the bracket of trafficking. Anything, it could be anything, organ trafficking, drug trafficking, women trafficking, wildlife trafficking. One more important trafficking is now happening nowadays is medi-waste trafficking. Medi-waste trafficking is also happening. The entire Europe is dumping its untreated medi-waste in the Indian Ocean. So don't eat that fish so happily. Okay? Don't think I have had phosphorus today. With phosphorus what you had you don't know. Okay? So what kind of amoeba is entering your brain we all don't know. Okay? So don't be very happy with that fish. Okay. Please make a note just about this cell. Anti-trafficking nodal cell in the Ministry of Home Affairs has been established, and one more comprehensive scheme is Ujjwala, UGGAWALA, a comprehensive scheme for prevention of trafficking and rescue, rehabilitation and reintegration of the victims. So basically once a particular person is identified as being trafficked, after his rehabilitation all this reintegration is done through the Ujjwala scheme. Understand this. Okay? Please make a note. I have told about this, the Palermo Convention. India has also ratified one more SAARC convention on preventing and combating trafficking in women and children for prostitution. SAARC is one international organization you should know in and out about. SAARC is very important. South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. SAARC. See, Vajpayee tried everything to bring life to SAARC. Believe me, Vajpayee did everything possible. He risked his life also to go to Pakistan to revive SAARC, but because Pakistan is Pakistan, so that revival did not happen. See, understand, in the global geopolitical construct, you have to understand things on a larger perspective. The most famous regional grouping, that is most successful regional grouping is your EU. एक ऐसा बच्चा है, EU एक ऐसा बच्चा है, without US mama he cannot survive. हाँ, ASEAN, it is the world's best example. After ASEAN was established, when people started underscoring the success of ASEAN, most of the regional organizations started springing up, and ASEAN decided we will not bring anybody within the ASEAN. If anybody wants to join us, ASEAN plus 3, ASEAN plus 6, East Asian Summit. Nobody can come inside ASEAN. So ASEAN is a grouping of 10 Southeast Asian countries. We will talk about it in the classroom for the foundation students. The mentorship students and the other students may please make a note why ASEAN became the most successful regional grouping in the world. You should be knowing this answer. And the straight away one line answer in an interview is because initially itself they opened their economy completely. Capital account convertibility was allowed and full convertibility was allowed. That's the reason why the entire world started pumping money into the ASEAN countries. That's led to their growth. That also led to their debacle also, 1997 East Asian crisis, but still it led to their growth. ठीक है? Be ready with your answer. अच्छा, एक काम करते हैं, ये हटा दो, keep it correctly for the sake of discussion. Don't consider it to be incorrectly, consider the question to be correctly. Be ready with your answer. Read each and every word deliberately. There are some 3 statements are correct. You say 3 statements are correct. Okay, which are those statements you feel you are correct? First, third one, fourth one. All of you are unilaterally saying 1, 3 and 4 are correct. I told Papulo Kalu Vestar. Majority of children are trafficked internationally for sexual exploitation. हाँ बोलो. First statement is true or false? True? Agree? Only I am hearing false. Why did you say this as false? This was false? Huh, so what? This is a wrong statement. Correctly matched? What is the answer? चलो मल्टी डायमेंशनल पॉवर्टी इंडेक्स, दिस इज अ वेरी ओल्ड इंडेक्स, 2010 ever since 2010 when I started preparing for UPSC, this fellow was born along with me. I was though born very before, but his birth happened with my birth in UPSC. 2010 multi-dimensional poverty index. It is recently the global multi-dimensional poverty index was released. It has been jointly published. Please make a note. Prelims के लिए very important. Jointly published by the Human Development Report Office of the United Nations Development Program. So UNDP plus and Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative. Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative, OPHI. So these are the two entities which jointly take out this report called Global Multi-Dimensional Poverty Index. It tells about how prevalent poverty is in the world and provides insights into the lives of the poor people, their deprivation and how intense their poverty is, to inform and accelerate efforts to end poverty in all forms. Other than them, World Bank is also an entity that regularly takes out report related to poverty in the world. So other than this entity, World Bank also tries to address the poverty in the world. What it says, the report, it compiles data from 110 developing countries. Please underline the word developing countries. 110 developing countries covering 6.1 billion population, accounting for 92% of the population in developing countries. So in this particular index, developed countries are not taken into consideration. It offers a key perspective of SDG 1. What is SDG 1? Poverty eradication by 20. Hey, SDG 1. Understand, when you write an answer in the mains, you have to integrate all these reports, you have to integrate the global efforts, you have to integrate the economic and political dimensions, the social dimensions also. तभी नंबर मिलेगा. तुम स्ट्रेट लाइन में आंसर लिखोगे, नंबर नहीं मिलेगा. That's why I say mains is an integrated approach to UPSC. So you have to learn to fill up your, some of you would have bought first ranker ka notes. If some of you have bought first ranker ka notes, she has very beautifully dumped all the information she knows in the world, whether relevant or understand this. ఎందుకంటే కరెక్షన్ చేసేవాడు కూడా మీలాంటి వాడే కాబట్టి మార్కులు పడిపోతూ ఉంటాయి. సో యూ హ్యావ్ టు వర్క్ ఆన్ ది డేటా బ్యాంక్ ఆల్సో. ठीक है. It offers a key perspective on SDG 1 which is related to poverty eradication from the world. ठीक है. To overcome the greatest global challenge, ending poverty in all its forms. I want you to know the time frame. I want you to know the time frame of ending the global poverty. The three dimensions related to the global poverty indication are health, education and living standards. And in the health there are two, mortality and the child nutrition. These are the indicators. And in education there are two, years of schooling and the attendance. Years of schooling and the attendance. In living standards there are 6, cooking fuel, sanitation, drinking water, electricity, housing and assets. These are total 10 indicators. 6 plus 2 plus 2. 3 dimensions, 10 indicators in the global multi-dimensional poverty index released combinedly by 2 agencies, UNDP and OPHI. ठीक है. It says that very very important information. It says that half of the global poor live in sub-Saharan African countries. Very very important. And 730 million, nearly 2/3, live in the middle income countries where you are also there. 2/3 of the global poor live in the middle income countries where you and China are also there in some dimensions. ठीक है. And 1/3 of the people live in South Asia. So this is the global tag we have got. 8 countries in South Asia, starting from Afghanistan, Pakistan, Maldives, Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh, Nepal and Bhutan. These are the 8 countries of the South Asia. So all South Asian countries account for 1/3 of the global population of the poor, and the figure is 389 million. The homework to you is कितने इंडिया में हैं? The homework to you is how many are there in India out of this 389. Please make a note, very important. See the Indian scenario. 25 countries including India successfully halved their global MPI values within 15 years, showing that rapid progress is attainable. Very important from the perspective of India. 415 million poor people moved out of poverty from 2005 and 6 to 2019 and 2021. This is where the government is doing maximum chest thumping, that we have lifted 415 million people out of the poverty. Take care. See, I will explain you something. For example, this is your poverty line, the most straightest line that I have drawn ever. Poverty line. क्यों लगाने सही है ना? Poverty line. For example, this is the poverty line. It means this is a line which is dividing poor and people who are not poor. For example, assumption. I am not giving any technicality, just to explain the concept to you. For example, this is $2 a day. Example, this is $2 a day. Now the problem is, based on this, you measured around 700 plus million people are still under poverty line. Now understand the dimension of inflation here. Understand the dimension of inflation here. If there is a slight increase in the inflation, believe me, this figure is this much because it is $2. If this survival costs them $2.5 because of the inflation, this number will get into, it means the boundary is very, very broad. The boundary of the poverty line is very broad. Maximum of the world is living in this small boundary between $1.4 to $3.2 per day. That's the reason why the world is bothered about inflation. Slight amount of inflation will make their life hell and classify them as the below poverty line people. That is the reason why the world is bothered about inflation, nothing else. Okay? Inflation may not have any effect on all of us, but definitely on the people who are on the borderline, it will have a definite and major effect on their survival. Okay? Understand that dimension. Please make a note of this. This dimension is very important. India में 44.3% multidimensionally poor. When they are talking about multidimensionality of the poor, they are also talking about education. They are also talking about certain classification of assets. They are talking about schooling. They are talking about take care, those 3 dimensions and 10 indicators. Please remember. Take care. It was 44.3% of incidence. Now it has come down to 11.8%. This is not BJP telling. ये बाहर वाला बोल रहा है, तो भरोसा कर सकते हैं. ठीक है? हाँ. And the child mortality has also gone down from 4.5 to 1.5. Child mortality is what, SDG? ठीक है, बना के लाई रहे हो वैसे आगे. Next week I will ask question. Deprivation of cooking fuel from so and so percent to so and so. Sanitation is also very important. 50% to 11.3. This is basically the biggest achievement of your Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, where the sanitation related, the SDG index, India's performance has increased drastically. Okay? In the drinking water indicator, the percentage of people who are multidimensionally poor and deprived fell from 16% to 2.7%. That is the reason why Har Ghar Jal, understand why these campaigns are there. These campaigns are basically targeting nothing but your SDGs and the dimensions related to multi-dimensional poverty index. So don't think Modi out of his exuberance is doing all these things, he is compelled to do all these things. Okay? The poorest states, what it says, the poorest states and groups including children and people in disadvantaged caste groups had the fastest absolute progress. Please make a note, you will get confused in the examination. It says is the states which were the poorest and the groups that were badly performing, they only showcased the fastest progress. So in the prelims statement mein don't get confused. The groups and the states which were most badly performing showed the fastest progress. Okay? If there is a statement on these lines, it is a correct statement. Underline. Now we have not put any prelims ka question on that, just to save some time. This was also in news. The Telangana UNEX ka case was in news. Why? Because why? Telangana, bolo APP, Telangana TSPSC exam likh rahe ho na? हाँ. Why? Telangana passed a law which said all the transgenders to go to a particular authority and report about their status of being transgender. It cannot be more idiotic than this. It cannot be. That's the reason why one of the courts compared it with a colonial law also. We'll talk about that. So these kind of legislations are happening in your country, so be little careful. The Telangana High Court recently, very important, underline this case, though it is a Telangana issue, important from UPSC perspective. Okay? The Telangana UNEX Act struck down the Telangana UNEX Act of 1919. The act was deemed violative of Article 14, the right to equality, and 21, right to protection of life and personal liberty, and termed it unconstitutional and an intrusion into the private sphere of transgender community as well as an assault on their dignity. It says that the court also found that the said act is similar to Part 2 of the Criminal Tribes Act 1871, which criminalized certain tribal groups. This is not 1919, this is 2019. Telangana thai nahi tab. There is a typo error there. It is 2019. Okay? So it was under the Part 2 of the Criminal Tribes 1871, which criminalized certain tribal groups. So the court compared this ruling with this. Just imagine 1871 ka Britishers criminalizing the tribes. You remember, to take care of those thugs and all. So the British government had enacted this particular act. So that is when the Telangana High Court compared this with that. What it says is, what did the act say? It defined eunuchs as all persons of the male sex who admit to be impotent or who clearly appear to be impotent on medical inspection. So on these grounds, the Telangana Act told all the transgenders to report for medical examination. That's where the whole controversy came. As per the Act, all eunuchs were mandated to register with the authorities. This included information such as their places of residence, for they were reasonably suspected of kidnapping or emasculating boys or of committing unnatural offences or abetting certain offences, said the Act. So that is the reason why they approached the Telangana High Court and they got a relief. The Transgender Protection of Rights Act 2019 defines a transgender person as one whose gender does not match with the gender assigned at birth. This is the definition, important, underline. It is a person whose gender alignment does not match with the gender identified at birth. It includes both the trans men and also the trans women, persons with intersex variations, gender queers, and persons with socio-cultural identities such as Skinners and Hijiras, that's we call. In India, the trans population makes a total of 4.88 lakhs. I suggest please make a note of this, 4.88 lakhs as per the census 2011. I have given the classification of LGBTQI plus communities details. Please go through it. The LGBTQIA and plus is and more are there. So it is self-explanatory. You can read through it. The primary transgender that we are discussing today is basically transgender. They identify with the sex opposite to the one they were born with. So this has no relation to sexual preferences. Very important dimension from the definition point of view. This is one classification which does not have anything related to the sexual preferences. Rest most of the things you will see they are some or the other way related to sexual preferences. But when it comes to transgender, there is no relation to sexual preferences. It is basically related to identifying oneself with a particular sex. That's all. It is nothing related to sexual preferences. So if in the prelims a sentence come, transgender is only the group of people where the sexual preferences has no role in classifying them as one. So it is a true statement. Okay? Understand that. That is the reason why, that is one of the reasons why they are being seen in a particular dimension. The kidnapping and abductions are happening and the genitals are getting, you know, what you call cut, and people are forced to become transgenders. So that reason, that was the reason they wanted to control them. That was the reason they wanted to. Very important. Please make a note on this. The Supreme Court of India in the National Legal Services Authority versus Union of India recognized that transgender people are distinct from binary people and declared them as the third gender. So you should know through which act the Supreme Court of India declared them as the third gender. It is the National Legal Services Authority versus the Union of India Act, right? On September 6, 2018, the Supreme Court scrapped also the section 377 of the Indian Penal Code decriminalizing homosexuality. Very important, Navtej Johar case. Please make a note. Navtej Johar case is important, where the decriminalizing of the section 377 of the IPC had happened. But the section 377 of the IPC is still in vogue in the armed forces. It is still in vogue in the armed forces. So it is still a criminal offence in the armed forces. For your benefit. First answer is false. The answer is the second answer is good. Next. So how many true? 2. The answer is, even if it is incorrect or correct, the answer is 2, both. Okay? From the perspective of incorrect, 2 incorrect. From the perspective of correct, 2 correct. In any case, the answer is that. Okay? Global South, we have discussed this initially itself, but just for your sake, some important dimension. The Global South includes countries from Asia, Africa and South America. Please make a note, underline or make a note, whatever it is. Countries from Asia, Africa and South America, very important. Many of these countries, and Global North refers loosely to the countries like US, Canada, Europe, Russia, Australia and New Zealand. Many of these countries, although by no means all, very important, although by no means all, are in the southern hemisphere, largely in Africa, Asia and Latin America. By no means all, the biggest exception to India and China. India and China. Okay? See, war in Vietnam. See, Vietnam war in the early 70s. Listen. See, the Vietnam war is considered to be a point when the northern dominance was proved to be over. The north dominance means the dominance of advanced nations, because despite of all the might of America, the military might, the political might, the economic might of America, a small country like Vietnam could not be defeated by America. So the message was loud and clear on the wall that the dominance of North is over. Before this Vietnam campaign, see, and Vietnam campaign is one such campaign where the people from America, people who were Americans, who came onto the road against America to come out of Vietnam, because just to prove that they were right, America started doing all sorts of genocidal activities. Your napalm bomb, your bombing of the entire Vietnam. There was a time when the entire Vietnam as a country went underground. The entire country went underground because they were shelling like anything. The Americans were shelling like anything. So that is why this Vietnam campaign brought lot of misfortune and bad shaming for America worldwide. So this is the point when it is considered that this is the lowest point for the North domination against the South. एक छोटा country को नहीं हरा पाया is what, and America went home with lot of bad face lost not only internationally but domestically also. Why? The Americans marched on the streets asking the government to withdraw from Vietnam. That is the kind of thing, and that is the reason why we generally say this is the culminating point of domination of the North on the South. Okay? Now the breakup of Soviet Union also, because I told you when there were two blocks, so the first block, the second block and the third world, first world, second world, the countries with socialistic ideologies were called the second world countries. The countries with the capitalistic ideologies were called the first world countries. So that is how the third world countries dimension came, which were a combination of both or underdeveloped countries basically. So third world countries came as a dimension. Okay? And I told you, in the meanwhile a new classification emerged called developed, developing and underdeveloped came. Okay? Now the problem was, this was showcasing the Western countries as ideal, which while portraying those countries that club as others as the backward. So this was also not what we call acceptable to the people. This was also not acceptable to the people. So increasingly the term that was being used to replace them was the more neutral sounding word called the global South. Okay? It's a conceptual dimension, nothing much. Okay? See, why this meeting was primarily called was two things. The meeting was hosted by India only to talk about two dimensions. One was pandemic, the second was the effect of the war of Ukraine on the developing countries. So that is the reason why under the tag called Voice of South, we want to do this, Voice of South. Okay? The event has planned 8 minister meetings, not important, but understand this, it was held under the theme unity of voice is the unity of purpose. So this is one important thing, this is not important from the examination point of view. Please make a note of this 5 R's, 5 or 4 R's: respond, recognize, respect and reform. This is what we have given. Okay? Respond, recognize, respect and reform. Okay? Give the answer, then we'll go ahead. 2 more topics I think, then we'll close the today's class. You assume this has to be correct, not incorrect. Ab bolo answer. Will come from niche se. Global South in general have been the victim of globalization. Yes. Global South has large growth potential. Yes, primarily because of the natural resources, availability of the natural resources. See, it is not that the North does not have natural resources. There are 2 deviations here. One, it has exhausted its natural resources. 2, it is reserving its natural resources for use in the future once the natural resources of the South are exhausted. Classic example is America. It is not that America does not have oil. America also has very large quantity of oil and natural gas resources, but it does not want to extract it now. When the world exhausts the entire oil and natural gas resources, that is when America wants to extract its own natural gas resources. See how clever the country is. ठीक है, उनसे सीखने के लिए भी बहुत कुछ है, ठीक है ना. Then Vietnam war is considered to be the culmination of the domination of the North. Yes. All the global South countries are in the southern hemisphere. No. Global South is primarily a geographical indication. No. So what is the answer? 3 pairs. So the correct answer is C. Okay, good. This I have already spoken. North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the delay in accepting Ukraine as the member of NATO, delay in accepting Ukraine as the member of NATO. So Ukraine is basically asking for skipping the entire process of membership action plan. This is what Ukraine is asking for, the membership. See, the problem is NATO is saying we have waived, but still not accepting it as full member. That's the problem. What NATO is saying is, I want this to happen. Now tell me, in the situation of war, will this happen? That's the problem. See, whenever, do you agree with me, whenever you are trying to incorporate any country into folds, you should not put conditions. This is what exactly this fellow also does. See, there is something known as డబ్బున్నవాడు నీతులు చెప్పొద్దు అంటారు. You agree with me? The person whose stomach is full, he should not talk morals. The person whose stomach is empty, he should talk, or vice versa. Who should talk morals? Both? Both? No? Who should talk morals? Who is empty stomach, he should talk morals? क्या बात कर रहा है तू? Your empty stomach, there is a bread, you know it is not yours. Will you not steal it and eat? I will definitely. You will also. You may say I won't. I am sure you will also. Yes or no? Because he is full stomach, that's why the bread of loaf is there. Understand this. See, that's the reason why it is said moral should not be taught to the needy. Moral should be taught to somebody who is settled. उसको morals पढ़ाओ, needy को नहीं पढ़ाना morals. It will not fit in. ठीक है? Understand this. Now, the problem is Ukraine's admission to NATO is being delayed on these grounds. They are saying the plan is a series of political and military steps to ensure that the prospective new entrant is a functioning democracy based on market economy, that is military under tight civilian. What is this? Why is he interested in this? Simple logic. You know what is the condition of the NATO countries? You know what is the condition on the NATO countries? That you will spend minimum 2% of your GDP on military expenses. 2% of your GDP you will definitely spend on military expenses. It is basically dhanda. It is basically, yes or no? So understand, the premise may be to safeguard somebody. See, there should be a reason why India did not join NATO, no? There should be a reason why India did not join NATO. The reason is this. That's the, see, believe me, he is not a fair guy. Believe me, he is not a fair. Just because he is giving you H1 Bravo visa does not mean that this fellow is a fair guy. He is not a fair guy. Historically at least. Futuristically I don't know. Historically at least he has not been a fair guy. Okay? So this is where the problems are coming, and Ukraine is talking about, Ukraine is getting restless. I have deleted some of the articles ka points. See the words. He is saying you are not offering any timetable for my induction. There is something known as war of attrition. कभी नाम सुना है? War of attrition. Anybody? War of attrition. Who is hearing this word for the first time? Madam. Almost all. See what happens in a battlefield. The generally in a war, पता लग जाता है 1-2 महीने में कौन जीता कौन हारा. The same happened in 48, 47, 48 with Pakistan, 65 Pakistan, 62 China. First day only we came to know we are going to lose the battle. 62, 99 we know we won, 71 we know we won hands downly. But if the war is not ending soon and it is going on for a long period, it means it is a war of attrition where all the resources of those two countries or the combination of countries are coming together for exhaustion. And here what plays important is the availability of natural resources at your disposal to continue the war for a longer period of time. That is the reason why when the World War II happened, initially Germany had lot of success in Russia, but Russia simply did not do anything, he just withdrew. If you see the extent of Russia on the world map, it probably runs across 1/3 of the world map. He said आप वापस आ जाओ, winters आ रहे, वो खुद ही मर जाएगा. Exactly this only happened. Russia withdrew, most of the German soldiers died in the winters. None of their equipment worked, including weapons also, because the place where the wars were happening where what you call Arctic zone के पास हो रहा था. That's the reason why the temperatures went to -30, -40. Most of the soldiers collapsed in that winter. So understand, this is where the concept of war of attrition comes. So in the war of attrition, obviously in the absence of the support of NATO, Russia is at an advantage because of its huge natural resources and the large vast area of the country. Okay? So that is the reason why Russia is wanting, the America is wanting it to be a war of attrition, primarily because it wants all the resources of Russia to be exhausted. That is the basic idea. Okay? Understand this. See, can anybody talk about this chicken and egg dimension? What is this chicken and egg dimension? You have this, question, no? Murgi pehle aayi kya? Anda. So, wo wala dimension mein he is taking to this debate, and NATO has been particularly activated ever since Moscow has impoverished what you call unprovoked military intrusion into what you call Georgia in 2008 also, and subsequent annexation of Crimea in 2014. I suggest please read this Georgia issue of 2008, very important from prelims perspective next year. 2008 Georgia में क्या हुआ था, why Russia entered Georgia, these dimensions should be known to you. ठीक है? India France, this I have given in the daily current affairs also. I remember probably day before yesterday or something, yesterday or day before yesterday. India France relation very important this year mains because 25th year of, if you are aware, France is the first country with whom India signed the first strategic partnership. What is a strategic partnership? Abhay PSAR Fauj. कर्म गाली मी దగ్గర జాయిన్ అయ్యా సార్ PSAR. बोलो, what is strategic partnership? Both are exchange कोई नहीं करता, buying and selling. Okay, trading बोलो, trading in, what is missing in strategic partnership, which is presence in alliance. In a strategic partnership and in an alliance, always remember, in both the cases, dealing or trading in military equipment will be there. Both will be there, trading in military equipment. The dimension that will not be present, what he says is the defense protection dimension won't be there. It will be there in alliance, it will not be there in strategic partnership. That is the reason why India enters into strategic partnership with various countries but does not enter into alliance with anybody, because India feels I don't need anybody's support. This is one dimension. The other dimensional difference between alliance and strategic partnership is, an alliance is always initiated by a major power to a smaller power. Always remember, एक गरीब अमीर के पास नहीं जाएगा, एक अमीर गरीब के पास आएगा. The initiation, the offer is always by a superpower or a major power to a smaller power. Always remember this. Alliance is offered, alliance is not sought generally. Alliance is sought only in distress situation, the way Ukraine is seeking. But otherwise, generally alliance is offered by a major power to a minor power in exchange of only one thing, that is called preferential market access. At the end of the war with Ukraine, you will see all the NATO countries will get preferential P, not F, preferential market access into Ukraine. So, to get this preferential market access ante వేరే వాళ్ళకి 10 రూపాయలకి అమ్మితే నాకు 2 రూపాయలకి అమ్మాలి, నేను చెప్పినోడికే అమ్మాలి. టు హూమ్ ఐ విల్ టెల్, ఓన్లీ టు దట్ పర్సన్ యూ విల్ సెల్. దీస్ ఆర్ కాల్డ్ ప్రిఫరెన్షియల్ మార్కెట్ యాక్సెస్, ప్రిఫరెన్స్. సో బేస్డ్ ఆన్ దట్ దిస్ డిఫెన్స్ ప్రొటెక్షన్ విల్ బి గివెన్ టు యూ. సో దిస్ ఈస్ ద రీజన్ వై పాకిస్తాన్ ఎంటర్డ్ ఇంటూ టూ అలయన్స్, సెంటో and SEATO also. CENTO and SEATO also. Understand this dimension. So from the conceptual point of view, this is important. Okay? And all this information I have given you in the what you call very beautifully. The article came in Live Mint. Yeah, the article came in the Live Mint. From there I have given this article. He is touching upon all dimensions of engagement with them. He is also talking about the military equipment. He is also talking about infrastructure development. He is also talking about pharmaceuticals. He is also talking about agriculture. All the dimensions have been given there. But please Google about this Bastille Day parade of France. It is known to be the most honorous parade in France, and it so happened that first time they invited some other country to be the guest of honor during the Bastille Day parade. See, always remember, international relations ka first slide when I start, I make a statement. In international relations, there is no permanent friend and there is no permanent enemy. It is only permanent interest of both the countries. उसको इंडिया में पैसा दिख रहा है, वो कहीं भी बुलाएगा, उसकी शादी में भी बुलाएगा, बर्बादी में भी बुलाएगा. So बड़ा फील होने की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है. See, always, as I told you, a major power will never come to a close smaller power unless and until he is not expecting something in return. Always remember this point of view. ठीक है? We are talking about fight against terror. We are talking about Indo-Pacific. Indo-Pacific again उसका खुद का interest है. France has an interest in Indo-Pacific. Some of the island nations, island territories are still belonging to France. So it also has a interest is in Indo-Pacific. They are also talking about investments and all. They are talking about certain jobs being created by France in India. They are also talking about India and the European Union Free Trade Agreement. Once the India-European Union Free Trade Agreement gets finalized, France will get immensely benefited. You will see France may soon replace China for India in many dimensions, in many dimensions. Okay? So this is one. We also know Indigo recently ordered 500 Airbuses. Air India in just couple of months before ordered 250 aircrafts, and these the A20s, the Airbuses also, they have, the France has the highest stake in the European Union when it comes to aeronautical engineering and all. Okay? So the FDI is also coming. Then your high priority market zones are also getting created, and it is seeing India, France is seeing India as a manufacturing supply hub, offering an alternative to China. That's all, nothing else. Very important. All these people who are important in the field of aeronautical, Rafale, all Air Force related fighter aircrafts and all, France is the major player. That's the reason why India is also going. Very important, one entity called Total Engineers, which has invested around $3 billion to support India's energy transition in the field of energy transition in the field of France, India energy transition in the field of बॉक्स बनाओ, बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं. प्लीज मेक ए बॉक्स. वेयर इज फ्रांस इन्वेस्टिंग इन इंडियाज एनर्जी ट्रांजिशन? And very important, your GMR airports, the 49% of the stakes of the GMR airport have been taken by a France company called Paris Airport. So the Paris Airport Group has taken 49% stakes in your GMR airports worldwide. ठीक है. France IT basically employs lot of, you heard about this, no? Capgemini. The Capgemini is a French origin company basically. ठीक है. Very important from prelims perspective. L'Oreal, not the L'Oreal that you know. ठीक है. The L'Oreal is operating 2 manufacturing units in Pune and Baddi. Please find them out. Very important. Global transport company called Alstom. What they will do is they will give the name of all these companies which are they belonging to which country. So question may come on those lines. ठीक है. See, a prominent French identity technology firm is a partner of the government's Jan Dhan Yojana and Aadhaar programs and has recently implemented the facial recognition technology in your DigiYatra. So we are incorporating them on these kind of dimensions also. ठीक है. 200 Indian companies have invested in France. The Viatris and now has 3 manufacturing units in France. Recently Biocon acquired an American company, Viatris, and now has 3 manufacturing companies. So pharmaceutical, what you call, entry is also there for India in France. ठीक है. I think this is the last article related to places of worship. I spoke briefly about it. The places of worship recently adjourned the case regarding the validity of the Places of Worship Act, allowing the centre until October 31 to clarify its stand on the matter. As I told you before, the Places of Worship Act was enacted in the year 1991 basically to keep the status of religious places as they existed on the 15th of August 1947 and prohibits the conversion of any place of worship and ensures that maintenance of their religious character is there. So the conversion of any religious place is prohibited through the Places of Worship Act 1991. It prevents the conversion of a place of worship whether in full or part from one religion denomination to another or within the same religion denomination. तो तुम हनुमान का मंदिर को देवी का मंदिर नहीं बना सकते. So if it is हनुमान का मंदिर on 47, it will remain to be the temple of Hanuman only. Maintenance of religious character, section 4 and 1 ensures that the religious identity of a place of worship remains the same as it was on the same day. Declares that any ongoing legal proceedings concerning the conversion of a place of worship religious character before 57 will be terminated and no new cases can be initiated. You cannot put in any case now related to this. There is one exceptions are there, very important from prelims perspective. 2 exceptions. One, any temple or any infrastructure, if it is coming under the ancient and historical monuments classification, then the rules pertaining to it would be governed under the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Acts 1958 and not the 1991 Act. That is one. Second, it also excludes cases that have already been settled or resolved and disputes that have been resolved by mutual agreement or conversions that occurred before the Act came into place. If at all some things were issues were raised and resolved before 1991, now you cannot again file a case in the dimension. The Act does not extend to the specific place of worship known as very important from prelims. The Places of Worship Act does not apply to Ram Janma Bhoomi and Babri Masjid. The critical exception has been given to this issue. Penalties and all, it is self-explanatory. Now, थोड़ा trick है, देखिए. Answer. First statement is correct. We'll assume this to be correct only. Okay, the first statement is correct. Okay. The act also prohibits the conversion of a religious denomination within the same denomination. Yes, I told you, Hanuman Ka Mandir will remain to be a Hanuman Ka Mandir. The act is coterminous with the Archaeological Act. Yes, it is coterminous, though with some exceptions, but yes, it is coterminous. The act does not cover any conversion based on mutual cooperation after the enactment of the act. It is true or false? Why? Okay, it should be before. Good. The act does not apply to Ram Janma Bhoomi and Babri Masjid. Yes. So how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many pairs correct? 4 pairs correct. So I think with this we come to the end of today's discussion. Anybody having any doubts, please ask what we have discussed today. Abada? Coterminous means there is one more law talking on that subject. No, not necessarily. That's the reason why I said some exceptions. See, the idea of Archaeological Act is to preserve the ancient character of that monument. So, because here religion dimension is coming, their historical dimension is coming, so it is coterminous with that dimension. So, that is the reason why I use the word coterminous. That's all. Chalo, thank you very much.